Hello everybody, this is Carmela Ramirez with Mosca and Carmela Show, and I'm so happy to be with you today. We have a lot to talk about with a very special guest. So on behalf of Arizona Barrio Stories and Latino USA TV, we're going to delve into the past history and current history of a musician who's been in Phoenix for years, affecting our community, affecting our culture, bringing the best music to you. And I just want to give you a little bit more history on how he manages to do that. The incredible Rudy Barcelo is in the house today. Welcome, brother.
Carmela, gracias. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm ready to answer any of your questions. Let's see.
Well, I'm ready to answer any of yours.
You got it.
So be careful.
All right. Oh, my God.
No, it's great to see you. It's
you got
great
it,
to
man.
see you,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you for what you've been bringing to the community all these years. I mean, you are an amazing powerhouse. Well, and that leads to Power Drive.
Power Drive.
He's from the band Power Drive, of course, and it started back in 1995. But let's talk a little bit about you. I want people to get to know you a little bit more. Well, where are you from originally? Are you Phoenix?
You know what? I was born in Mesa. You know, I'm originally from Mesa.
Okay.
I was born in, like I said, you know, you can figure the years. I was born in 1950.
Okay.
So this year I turned 75 years old. Really old guy, man.
Nah, not really. Not anymore.
No.
75 is the new 10.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank God I'm still here playing.
Yeah.
I never figured that I'd be playing this long. You know, but yeah, I started, you know, and my initial, I guess, orientation to music was from, I had an uncle, his name is, called him Tio Beto. He was a Korean war veteran.
Really?
He was stationed out in Korea at the Reservoir battle. It was one of the biggest battles out there in Korea. But he brought home with him an old beat-up trumpet, Bugle. And, you know, he brought, when I got it, it was probably around 1954, so 54, 55, when I, you know, hey, see if you can play it. And then before you know it, you know, I got the trumpet. It was all bent up, and, you know, I tried to make some kind of music. And then next thing you know, my mom was from Superior. She's kind of a go-getter. They always, hey, you can do it, let's do it. She went to Milano's and bought a brand new trumpet. $150 at the 1954, 55. She said, now you have a trumpet. I said, what? Hey, my mom spent it. My dad came home and saw the new trumpet. He is so upset with that.
Well,
$150 then.
That's like $1,500.
That's a lot of money.
That was a big investment for her.
But you know, I started learning. You know, I call it by they call it by lírico, by learning by the ear. You know, what's it, Suzuki method? You know, where you just learn.
Yeah.
So I learned a bunch of stuff. You know, Jose Alfredo Jimenez song, just boleros. And one of the things that I was lucky to have is my aunt. My aunt played the piano. No. She played piano, so she could only play in C and F, something were easy, but she knew all the songs. You know, all the boleros. You know, Perfidia, I know it's one of the songs. Da, da, da.
What a beautiful song.
I learned Perfidia, but so I grew up learning all the boleros that she learned, but it was in foxtrot. Da, 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 da. It's kind of a little fast paced, but I was lucky that we'd get together, take out the trumpet, and I'd start, I'd get it, and I finally learned the melody, and we'd play along. And then my grandfather would join in and sing, and so not everybody was a musical family, but my aunt, she played the piano. Everybody would jump in and sing. They could sing, but they never were in a band, you know.
Did you play little parties with your tia?
What's that?
Did you play any parties together?
You know what?
We're
just a family parties. You know, my aunt had the piano, so we'd go to the aunt and we'd gravitate there. You know, everybody, hey, come on over. You know, just the regular Sunday fiesta or Saturday. You know, and so that, you know, we'd learn how to play in certain songs. You know, but really, I didn't start. I really didn't start playing. My first band was with a band. I don't even know. I call it the Pete Garcia, Tony Omada project.
Oh my goodness!
I was in 1962.
Okay.
I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And we had 3 trumpets and 2 saxes, guitar, bass, drums, and then the ones that were in the band was Tony Amala and Pete Garcia. Pete Garcia's from the Brillantes, but that was from the Mesa. You know, we're all from Mesa. You know, never went to Phoenix, but we started. Our first gig was at Lehigh Elementary. Lehigh Elementary was for Italian benefit. They were raising funds, and it was a spaghetti dinner. And that was the first gig. They didn't pay anything.
They didn't. I was just going to ask if they paid you at all.
No pay. It was a free. You know, it's like a how can I say? You're auditioning.
Right.
That was just free. But it was in. But I have a picture. I said, man, 12 years old, you know.
A 5-piece horn section too. That's big.
Well, it was a lot, you know, and we were reading music. You know, we all had stands, just like the old time stands, and reading music. What I knew, I could read, you know.
Where did you learn to read music? Was it in school?
Well, you know, when I got the trumpet, you know, my mom would. We had lessons at Milano's. She'd take me. She knew how to read more than I did. 1 and 2, and you know, my mom only had a 6th grade education. My dad had an 8th grade education, but my mom was always kind of the pushy type, you know. But she would take me to music lessons, and then I'd come and then help me study. And then one of the nice things about it, when I started playing a little bit more, I could play, and then I started going to school. You know, I went to a neighborhood school, Washington, Booker T. Washington, in Barrio in Mesa, and I was the only musician. I mean, the only student there that played. And one thing about I got to commend the Mesa Public School. They would send a teacher once a week to give me, not private lessons, but go over the music.
To work with you?
Yeah,
wow.
To work with me. I said, wow. That was in the 50s, so I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, you know. And then so I would, you know, and they'd go over the music. And then like every other week, I'd go probably ride my bike with my trumpet, probably about a couple of miles to another bigger school, and I'd go with a big band. And man, it'd be in the morning. I'd go by myself. And that was when it was safe.
Oh my goodness!
My bike, and then so I'd come. And they would have a couple of concerts that I did with them. But yeah, the city and the Mesa Public Schools, they did a good job there.
Well, they saw something.
Yeah, you know. So then I just kept on, and then, like I said, you know, and then I started playing with the first band there, and we played different places, and started playing, doing some weddings, different places, and then what else? Yeah, that's pretty much that. And then I just kept on playing, and the next phase was I was more of a teenager. Started playing with a bigger, like a 4-piece, but kind of doing the more cumbias and stuff, old school. We had we bought some outfits on. We had tuxedo shirts on, you know, the old time tuxedo. We had a gold jacket.
Yeah.
I think one time we played at the Westward Ho when it was a hall, you know.
That was the place. Man.
Yeah, that was a big play, a big conference, and we played there, and it was like a 5-piece band, and we did good. And then I kept going, and like I said, I played in high school. And in high school, I played all the way through high school. I played all the way through high school. Even my junior year, I even played at a place called Club Paris. It was a striptease. It was a striptease joint.
So you got a free show too?
Well, it was like we were da 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 da. You know.
Oh my goodness!
It was like I was like 15 years old, and the band leader, he said, "We're from out of town. We need a place to stay." I said, whatever, man. You know, we were from Mesa, you know, and we would play like 3 nights a week there. And
it's amazing what you do.
And then the one time, the one time they said, "Go tell her that we're ready for her." So I go there, and she was like standing. It's like in the movie. She's smoking a cigarette, completely with no clothes. I said, I was like, we're ready for you. We're ready for you now.
I love it.
But you know, but after that, you know, it was my senior year, and my mom probably did the best thing. She said, the guys that were playing with, he said, Rudy's not going to play for a senior. I want him to graduate. I said, oh man, Mom, I'm playing. No, you're not playing at all. You're going to go play in the high school band. So I played, and I went through I stopped playing outside and just played in the band. I was at Westwood High.
Okay.
And then I played through the whole thing. Graduated in 1968, many moons ago. And then the day after I graduated, my buddy comes back. Are you ready to play? I said, yeah, I got a band.
God.
All right.
Oh Lord.
And that's when I started playing. And I started playing with a band called the Latin Glows, and we got a job. I think one of my first jobs was at probably around Pipas. You know where the Comedores?
Yeah.
I used to be a dance hall. We played there.
Right, I remember that.
Was and we played different places. And then we started playing at Calderon. That was on 16th and Buckeye.
I remember Calderon.
Well, Calderon, everybody goes, that's where the devil appeared and stuff, all the myth.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
But I wasn't there. That was way afterwards. But one of the things that my first, how can I say, my first time I listened to Tejano music was at Calderon. That was, you listen, we warmed up for Lil Joe, Sonny Osuna and the Sunliners, Joe Bravo.
Right.
I mean, Jimmy Edwards. I mean, all these bands, Agustin Ramirez. So we got to learn how to play. We were doing Tejano music even prior to. Afterwards, Tejano music got popular, and so I was lucky, man. I got exposed to all the different types of music, but and how to arrange the horns, and I was lucky because I connected with the band. The name of the band that we played there, well, it was Latin Glows, and then afterwards I went to the band called the Sonics, and the Sonics was owned by Phil Quitos. Phil Quitos was a sax player for Rudy and the Reno Bobs. Oh, that's way back.
Wow.
And then but as Calderon was one of the stopping grounds. When they did the tour, they take off from Texas. They already had lined up. They would go to California, Arizona, New Mexico, Arizona, and then California. And so Phil fell in love with one of the ladies here. He ended up getting married. So the sax player got married. And they talked to Calderon and said, hey, I'm going to stay here. Can I get a band? You'll hire me? Yeah, so he formed a band. I was part of the group.
Okay.
And I played with some other bands, other musicians that played with you. Rick Benavides.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all young adults, and Rick Benavides, David Benavides.
Awesome
Suki
players.
Charles, awesome players.
Suki Charles.
Suki Charles, a long time. Suki Charles is good, man.
Yeah.
They were all, Suki Charles was a keyboard player.
Right, you're talking all the classics now.
Yeah, many moons ago. So we did that for a long time, and that's at one time we were playing there. I mean, you had different periods with different musicians, and we had we had two trumpets, Angel Cota, myself, and then Phil. We had three, and then we had Bobby Soul came in. He was looking for a job, so we had a four-piece horn section.
That guy was an animal.
Oh man! So with four horn section, the way it's arranged, Tejano style, the arrangements or the chords, I said we sounded better than some bands that they would bring in. It was just unbelievable. Like whoa, but it's just an experience. And then Gumby also was in the group. Gumby came, he said, hey, let's get Gumby, man. Rick knew Gumby and said, let's get him in. Before you know it, Gumby started playing.
Yeah.
And it's just a phase. You just keep going. And
well, I want to talk more about your phases. What we're going to do is, because we've got a lot to talk about, we're going to come back for a part 2.
No problem.
Because I think we need to do that.
You got it.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break and come back. Let's see what else pops out of this amazing man. I'm really connecting to everything you're saying, though, because I started watching, Phoenix when I was just a baby.
Oh,
and I was sneaking into Calderon.
Yeah.
Drinking tequila sunrises when I was 14. All right, we're going to be right back on behalf of Arizona Barrio Stories, Latino USA TV. Stay tuned.
This segment brought to you by Gutierrez Law Firm.
Hola, mi gente. I'm attorney Francisco Gutierrez and a proud sponsor of Arizona Barrio Stories. I grew up in the Anat Barrio, And I've been practicing law now since 1984. Experience really does matter. If you've been injured by someone, call me. Let's talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mas with Carmela. I am Carmela Ramirez, your host, on behalf of Arizona Barrio Stories and Latino USA TV. So we are delving into part 2 with Rudy Barcelo because there's so much to talk about. This guy is just a living legend in Phoenix, and I've watched his music grow over the years and so proud that you are out there still doing it and representing us, brother.
Well, I'm lucky that, like I said, I'm still alive, so thank God.
To talk about it.
Every time we see musicians that, we did a benefit yesterday, and they go, man, well, we're still alive, man. So, and people ask, when are you going to stop? I said, well, you know what, it's a little difficult to get on stage sometimes, but I just get my stool, I sit down, I play, the guys in the band, they help me out. So I'm still doing it, but I'll do it as long as I can, Gracias a Dios, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I got a few elements, like everybody, you get old, you got a few elements.
But I really believe that the arts keep you young.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of living and awareness, because it makes your brain every single day, respond to music and mathematics that's in music. It just keeps you.
Yeah.
I really think it has a lot to do with, you and I and others living so long.
Like I said, I know where the age goes, seeing everybody gets older and I stay the same. It's like,
exactly.
Well, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
So when we left off, you were talking about, you guys had formed a band at Calderon.
Yeah.
And you were performing there, and you were just a teenager.
Well, no, Calderon, I had graduated from high school.
Okay.
And I was already just playing every weekend, and that's pretty much a band that I was playing with for a while. We played quite a few years there, and then we ventured out different things. And then after that kind of stopped, I started. I always had connection with a band in Guadalupe, and I forgot. I know I played with Latin Spirit for about 13 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
It was all the way up to, like I said, up to 1981. 81 when I graduated and then I graduated from ASU. Then,
let's talk about that, because I want to make sure that people understand the other side of you. Us as musicians, it's hard to just make a living with music.
It's tough.
It's so tough. What did you do to offset yourself?
Well, I got a degree. I got a degree in social work, and then I worked in the town of Guadalupe for about 5 years, and I worked in the counseling department and job placement, and I worked there about 5 years, and then I ended up moving in, applying for another job with Maricopa County Human Services, and that was working for a work investment program, where people lose their jobs. I was also like a counselor there, kind of like people need help with food stamps, with different services, I connect them to them. It's just whatever the job entailed, anything to help them.
That's awesome. So it was social work.
Yeah, so I did that, like I said, I ended up working there with the county for about 18 years.
Okay.
Finally retired. I've been retired for about 16 years now. I worked at the county for 28 years, and I've been retired for about 16 years. So
isn't it wonderful?
So thank God.
I love my retirement.
Well, like I said, I look to have a first cup of coffee in the morning, which is gracias a Dios.
I know.
That's good. But like I said, and then all this time, I've been as far as a weekend warrior all the time. I played since 1968, but throughout the time I played. When I graduated in '81, I started playing with Latin Spirit. They're from Guadalupe, and I played with them till 1995. And the reason I say I remember that day, because the last day I played with Latin Spirit was the day that Selena died.
Really?
I said we were already trying to go a different group. Trying to do something else. Me, myself, Carlos Bejarano, trumpet player, played many years together, and we ended up, said let's go, let's start another group, and I forgot to mention, but in '78 we had a power drive initially the first set of power drive with different musicians, that kind of fell apart because we were playing at Los Olivos. We played there for about 2.5 years. Then disco came and then took the musicians away because they could do like 3, 4 nights.
Right.
We're only doing 2 nights, Friday and Saturday, not enough
Yeah.
money. But you just continue playing. You go with the challenge to whatever happens. And
That was a big challenge for all the bands in town, disco.
yeah.
Knocked us out of the water temporarily.
Yeah.
You just had to sort of reinvent yourself to still
Yeah.
have a reason for the people to come see you.
And we were lucky at Los Olivos. We had all brand new players, and man, we had people lined up. I was lucky. I said, wow, lined up, like, wow, something's right. Something's right when other musicians come to see you. People are like, oh, yeah, they are. All right.
Oh, I better do it right.
You're like, when your fellow musician friends, they come, so
Right.
like I said, I always say, I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. So, whatever you hear, I don't profess to say, oh, we're the best. I never say that, because each one has their own, like we talked earlier, everybody has their own niche they do, Initially, when we started in 78, we were more of a Tejano band. Because the drummer that's a focus that
Really?
we wanted. Really, it was. We did the old school, but we were more Tejano. We did a lot of rancheras.
I didn't know that.
Well, the thing is, Power Drive is really, we took the name from a Latin breed band from Texas. They had there's a jukebox with the name Power Drive. Let's go with that, man. And it kind of served 2 purposes because, when you say Power Drive, what kind of music they play? Is it a rock and roll band?
Yeah.
Or they hear us, they play Tejano, but I said, well, you know what? Let's just go with it, man. So we went Power Drive, and but it was Tejano.
What year was that, though, when you created?
What's that?
You said you did Power Drive in 78,
Well,
right?
we did 78, yeah.
And then you reinvented it.
We reinvented it and said, well, let's do it in 95 because we were tired of just, with Latin Spirit was puro Tejano, and we did a little bit of old school, but then in 95, we kind of went a different direction. It was still a bit of Tejano, cumbias, but a little bit more old school, kind of more up-funk tempo stuff.
Right, right.
So that's kind of, and there, like I said, we have continued on since 95 and up till this present day, and in April it'll be 30 years that we've been together. It's unbelievable. We had different challenges. We had people come out of the band, come in. At one time we had Brian, the main singer, Acosta, and he helped you out at the show, and then he got married, and then we got Gumby. And then later on, Brian comes back, and I said, all right, we got Brian and Gumby, 2 singers. And then Angie comes in, and I said, before you know, we have like 11-piece band.
I remember that.
It was huge, and so.
How fun.
And now we've kind of, and then, we had congas, timbales, everything, and things change, and then, the club scene is a little different these days.
Very different.
It's a little bit more challenging trying to get not just to provide your music, but how can I say, just to get everybody paid right.
Yeah.
If you don't get enough money, or you don't have no gigs, people go somewhere else.
That's unfortunate, for our musicians, that we're still making the same amount of money that we did in the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's very hard.
Yeah.
You sort of have to create your own situations, which that's what I try to do. I don't want to oversell, but the other problem that we have on being underpaid is because a lot of the bands locally will undersell just to get the gig.
Easy, yeah.
And it hurts everybody. It hurts everybody.
I'll tell you a story. When at one time I was playing with Pete Garcia, and I was complaining because I was getting paid $30. Come on, hour on, hour off. We played this one club in Phoenix, and I said, what the heck?
I
man?
used to do that.
I said, come
when I
on,
was
Pete,
started.
come on. I was mad. I was like. And then, so I asked, and they had another conjunto, a guitar, bass, and drums, and accordion. And I said, how much you get paid? And he goes, but no, for me, I only get paid $5 a night. I said, what?
Ay, Dios mío.
I shut up. I said, I have no reason to talk.
Yeah, you can't complain.
Yeah, I can't complain, you know. So I said, but
At least they give you free brews once in a while, you know.
Oh my God.
$30 and all the beer you can drink.
just enjoy it. But once again, like I said, you know, we're lucky that we're still here, you know. Like I said, and like you're talking about musicians, you guys good musicians, and good musicians, they can go anywhere they want.
Exactly.
They can, you know, I know all the musicians that you got, the horn players, you got Mark. Man, man, all the musicians.
Yeah, they've been with me for
they're great
years and
musicians.
years.
They can go any place.
They are, but they do.
And then I know they book
because
out.
I don't. There was a time where I was doing 5-6 nights a week, but I can't do that anymore.
No, it's
and
okay.
salsa is very demanding, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So if I play, 3 to 4 gigs a month, that's fine for me.
Oh, yeah.
But the ones who are wanting to make a living out of it, they have to play with other bands. So then I have that challenge of booking myself, but they're already booked with something else.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to balance it all out, and they deserve to be able to do that.
You know, then sometimes I say, well, I'm taking off that night. I book it, it's a wedding. I already booked out somewhere else, and then I booked out. Oh, I said, now I got to find a drummer. I got to find.
I know.
It's a headache, but you know what? That's part of the.
It is part of the business, but it's just annoying. But I can't complain. Some of my people have been with me for 35 years. In the salsa band, because I've been doing music for about 52 years, something like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Started when I was
We've
just
all
a
been in
kid.
the business for a while, but gracias a Dios, bottom line, we're still alive and still doing it.
So, talk to me about where you think you might take your music. Do you write your own arrangements for the band? And
I write the horn parts. I'm not. I went to school about 2.5 years in music. I was a music major. Kind of learned how to write. A little bit more about music, the scales and stuff. I took piano for about 2.5 years, so I was pretty good piano. At one time, me and Carlos would have 2 pianos. Carlos Bejarano, we'd both take pianos and stuff. I play a lot of leads. When I was the Latin Spirit, I played some difficult stuff, but I said, all right, I can do it. But now I got my trumpet, I got this, I got that. That's too heavy. I barely can walk with my walker. And then my stool, I forget I can't play that. But I was lucky that I learned how to write music about music programs. So you write music. So that way, if anybody, when we need a horn part, it's already written. Yeah. Somebody can just kind of read it. And that's like for your band, you really need the music because you got like 4 horns. And
Yeah, it's pretty orchestrated, our arrangements, and I love it. But you know what fascinates me, Rudy, is that you're a trumpet player, and those are usually auxiliary that we can't afford when you put together a band. It's usually your rhythm section, your bass, your guitar, your piano, and drums, primarily.
All the basics.
And then to start adding on horns, that's a big step. So you working all these years is amazing to me that that you were on call like that and have done all that you've done.
Since I'm the leader, they can't fire me. I'm just kidding.
Pero es la verdad que no.
No, but you know what? We started with at one time we had 4 horns. I mean, we had 3, then we went to 4. We had Juan Castaneda. Yeah. He just took a break this past year. Then we had Smiley, Albert Hernandez, sax, Carlos Verano. And myself. And then little by little, this dropped off, and we just, I said the show goes on. Yeah. I don't care 1 singer or 2 singers or 1 trumpet. I'm the only horn player right now. I got a certain a machine that kind of
that doubles and octaves,
balances out. So we do okay. And then all of a sudden, since there's a shortage of money when the bands, where you play the clubs, he said, you know what, just wear it. It may mix a little bit extra. Yeah. And they're all satisfied with that, Well,
that's good.
So thank God, like I said, it's nothing. Yeah, when I hear the horns, I said, you got 4 horns. I said, whoa, my God.
It's insane.
But it's great, but it adds to the bill.
It adds to the bill, but the only way to do salsa for me is to have the full orchestration.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Which, limits us, but as far as who can afford it. But like I said, I try to create my situation.
No.
So, like some clubs, I don't even want them to pay me. I want the door, or I want a percentage of something else that they have. Yeah, so that's the only way we can walk into some of those clubs like
Yeah.
Cactus Jack's, you know,
Yeah.
in Awatuki.
Yeah.
That's a classic example.
Yeah.
But it's a place for us to perform,
Yeah.
you know, our regular places.
Exactly. I think the other part of it too is like for us, you know, one of the things that, you know, we do this, we'll do an hour here, we'll do 2 hours here. You know, it just depends what it is, you know, at least, you know, and sometimes I give a little bit of break to some people, you know, it's a fundraiser, you know, not that we charge for, sometimes we do, like, you know, we've done, I think the past couple of months, we've done a couple, 2 or 3 benefits, and we're doing one next week. So, like I said, we're also trying to get back too, you know. I said, hey, man, there's a Tony Orona, he's from Reality Band. He says, I found my niche. I said, I like to do benefits. He'll put the sound, the drums, the bass,
Really?
which is good, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I respect that.
Right.
Because, you know, it's like, well, you do, if someone says, can you help me with a benefit? Well, who's the host? It would like I don't take all my equipment, but
Yeah,
he'll
I know.
say to do it.
Yeah.
So once again, we're still contribute to the community, and there's money to be made. You know.
That's awesome. Well, it's been amazing talking with you, bro.
Yeah.
You have a lot
Carmela,
of
gracias.
history.
You know, like I
Thank
said, I
you.
still thank you for inviting me, and I hope to see people in the future. When you hear Power Drive, come on out.
That's right. One of the
Or
best
Carmela,
bands in
hey,
town.
mas. Hey.
I think we just need to do gigs together.
Yeah.
I want to get us
We're
all
gonna
together.
do a gig with both of us. That'd
yeah.
be good.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the next show.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, Los Divinos. The guy.
Don't think people haven't been asking me about that. When are you going to do Los Divinos?
Oh,
I said,
my
well,
God.
you know, there's a few of you out there,
Oh,
so
I-
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in with Rudy
you,
and
Carmela.
myself today. And we hope to see you soon. Get out and see Power Drive. This is a classic band that's been around for as long as I have, which is a long time. But thank you so much. On behalf of Arizona Barrio Stories, Latino USA TV, and the incredible crew that's here, we'll see you next time.